Before I start, I need you to do something very simple. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Not because it helps the channel, though it does. No, this is different. It's because the thing in this story. It notices who listens silently. It pays attention to the ones who just watch, never making a sound. And if you don't engage, if you don't make your presence known, it doesn't attack right away. It's far more patient than that. It waits. It waits until you're asleep, when you're most vulnerable. And then it comes to you, wearing your own thoughts, whispering in your own voice. I'm not just trying to scare you. I'm warning you. I need you to understand that. I didn't believe in ghosts or demons or whatever you want to call them. Not for a second, not even after what happened. But belief doesn't really matter when something decides to believe in you. It all started back in 2015. I was young, needed a cheap place to live, and I found a room for rent in this big, old house in upstate New York. The kind of house that groans at night and has that permanent smell of dust and forgotten memories. The house belonged to this quiet, elderly woman who lived on the ground floor. She was a strange one, never smiled, never made small talk. She'd just watch me from her window as I came and went. The day I moved in, she gave me the key and a single, cryptic piece of advice. That night, just before I went upstairs to my room, she stopped me at the bottom of the staircase. Her eyes were dark, and she looked right through me when she said, "Whatever you hear after 3 a.m., don't respond, don't speak. Don't even breathe too loudly. Just ignore it." I just kind of laughed it off. A nervous little laugh. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? Everyone always laughs, right? It sounds like the beginning of a bad scary movie. I wish it had been. The first night, I was exhausted from unpacking. I fell asleep almost instantly. Then I woke up. I glanced at my phone. The numbers glowed in the dark. 3:07 a.m. I hadn't woken up suddenly, like from a nightmare. It was a slow, gentle pull out of sleep, like someone had been softly calling my name over and over until I finally surfaced. I was completely awake. My eyes were wide open, but my body felt incredibly heavy, pinned to the mattress. And that's when I heard it. Breathing. It wasn't my breathing. It was slow, deep, and deliberate. And it was coming from the far corner of my room, where the shadows were the thickest. It was so patient. I held my own breath, trying to make sense of it. Then a voice whispered my name. It was perfect. The pronunciation, the inflection, it sounded like someone who had known me my entire life, who had practiced saying my name for years, just waiting for this moment. I squeezed my eyes shut, my heart hammering against my ribs. I remembered the old woman's warning. Don't respond. I stayed completely still, said nothing. After what felt like an eternity, the breathing stopped. The silence that followed was somehow even louder. The next night, I was determined to beat it. I wasn't going to be scared in my own room. I made a pot of strong coffee and decided I would just stay awake. Watch movies, read a book, anything to get past that 3 a.m. deadline. And I did. 3 o'clock came and went. 3:05. I was starting to feel relieved, a little foolish even. I thought I had outsmarted it. At exactly 3:07 a.m., my phone, which was on the nightstand beside me, suddenly lit up. No call, no notification, no text message. The screen just turned on, bright and black, and in the dark, reflective glass. I saw my face, but something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I wasn't smiling, but my reflection was. A wide, unnatural grin that stretched from ear to ear. It held the smile for a moment, and then its expression changed, mimicking my own look of horror. But it moved a fraction of a second too late. A perfect, horrifying delay. My blood ran cold. That's when the realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. For my reflection to be visible, something had to be behind me, blocking the light from the lamp. Something was standing right there, over my shoulder. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The old woman's words echoed in my head. Don't respond. I just stared at the smiling face in my phone, a face that was mine but not mine, until the screen went dark again. The third night was the worst yet, or so I thought. I was so terrified I couldn't even think about staying awake. Sleep was an escape. That night, I dreamed. In the dream, I woke up. It felt completely real. I was in the same bed, in the same cold, dark room, but I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed, a prisoner in my own dream. I could only listen. I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate footsteps, circling the bed, bare feet on the old wooden floorboards. Creak, creak, creak. They came closer and closer until they stopped right beside my head. I felt something lean in close to my ear, so close I could feel a cold draft against my skin. And then it whispered, its voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. You listen very well. I felt its breath. It was cold and smelled like dust and decay. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then it spoke again, and these are the words that still crawl under my skin, that still haunt me in the dead of night. It said, "You'll make room for me," and then I woke up for real, tangled in my sheets, the phantom feeling of that cold breath still on my neck. After that night, things started to change, to unravel. I began losing time. I'd be reading in my room, and the next thing I knew, it was hours later, and I'd be standing in the kitchen with no memory of how I got there. I started finding things that weren't mine. Smudges and fingerprints on the bathroom mirror, too long and thin to be human. And every single night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., it would speak to me. It wasn't whispering my name anymore. It wasn't threatening. Its voice was calm, almost soothing. It was teaching me. It would tell me how to let go. It would talk about how tired I was, how much I deserved to rest. It painted pictures of a deep, endless sleep, a place with no worries, no fear. It was a sweet, poisonous lullaby, and a part of me, the exhausted, terrified part, started to listen. It felt like my own will was eroding, being sanded down night after night after night. The seventh night was the last night. I woke up, but I wasn't in bed. I was standing. Standing in the middle of the room, facing the tall wardrobe mirror. And I was smiling, the same wide, unnatural grin I had seen on my phone. My own face felt alien, a mask being worn by something else. I looked into the mirror at my own reflection, and then I looked past it. In the reflection, I could see my body, my real body. It was still lying in the bed, fast asleep, looking peaceful. And standing behind my sleeping form, hunched over it, was a figure. It was tall and bent, impossibly thin, with limbs that were too long. It was pure shadow, a void in the shape of a man. It looked from my sleeping body in the bed to my smiling face in the mirror. It looked right at me, and then it spoke, but the voice didn't come from the shadow. It came from my own mouth. My own lips moved, and it said, "Thank you for watching." I left the next morning. I didn't pack. I didn't say goodbye to the old woman. I just grabbed my keys and my wallet and ran. I drove for 3 hours before I even stopped for gas. I never went back. I never looked back, but it followed me, not in the same way. It wasn't in my room anymore. It wasn't in the mirrors. But it was in my dreams, and now it's in my stories. Because it learned something from me, something important. The more people who listen to the story, the more people who hear its name, even if its name is just it, the stronger it becomes. It feeds on attention. Especially the quiet ones, the silent listeners who just absorb the story, letting it sink in without a trace. So I'm telling you this again, and this is the final warning. If you're still here, if you've listened this far, don't stay silent. Make some noise. Subscribe, like this video. Leave a comment, even if it's just a single word. Let it know you're here. Let it know you aren't just a passive observer. Because tonight, when you wake up at 3:07 a.m. for no reason, and you feel that familiar cold spot in your room, when you hear that slow, patient breathing near your ear, it won't be asking for permission anymore. Thanks for watching. Be safe.